Think. Let my words shatter eternity. Let that one single word alter reality. Let everything in your perspective shrink. Take a step back and just think. Such a simple thought to think, or maybe not. Far too often we are absent-minded, common sense, as it would seem, completely forgot. We need a change of perspective because we forget everything in this life is relative. Like Honey Shrunk the Kids, we need someone to force a change of view, bring the old into view, make the dead ideals new. Because art is dying, a starving generation crying, trying, reaching, vying for something more appealing. If they just but alter and raise their ceiling, their expectations, world and view would transform as their minds, bodies, and souls would suddenly be reborn. Now let's think about those of us with freedom who aren't really free, how the land of the free discriminates against the all-you-can-be. Tax every dollar I make, and when I try to buy something, another nickel and dime they try to take. Take prayer out of schools. Don't teach ethics, life skills, hardly. Mandatory lessons in being sheep. It's pathetic. Drugs, sex, humanism. They made themselves God, yet they wage a war on religion. Freedom of speech? Sure. As long as you don't promote passion or the distribution of art and real intelligent information. They take away music from schools while the next generation begins to die of cultural, intellectual, and spiritual starvation. Grown men, a father of 5 doesn't know how to read because we allow arrogant, self-consumed tenure to thrive and survive. Spell check replaces spelling. Study hall takes place of proper electives as students are taught to not think as their brains become the equivocal effect of being defective. Media overloaded self-reliance. Facebook, iPhones, GPS, sensory overloaded technological defiance. Told what to buy and how to eat. Rather watch Netflix and stand on your own 2 feet. Because down with the soul, scorn the school of thought. Kill philosophy, rape logic, promote social idolatry. All for naught. They tell us, don't think, be unique. Buy designer jeans. Be an individual by following trends. Cliches that have nothing to mend. I live in a box. Came the reality of my station. Day after day I relived the realization that I live in a box, orange shorts, white socks, striped suit, not Armani or Gucci. Wouldn't quite say pinstripe, but rather horizontal gel bird, black and white sort of type. But I'm no new guest to being stuck, trapped, held down and out of luck. It goes back to before the box, to my hubris and the wisdom I ignored and I mocked. A slave to my addictions and substances as I blamed others for my circumstances. I was an enlightened fool, a know-it-all tool. I knew the dangers yet play God anyway, giving no thought to the consequences of yesterday because my hurt was more important than my God, my Lord. So I let my hurts cost me more than I could afford. It only took one moment to bring forth the advent of the end, to offend and rend 20 years of a legacy with nothing left to mend. One moment of indiscretion led not to just my incarceration, but damage beyond the calculations of my wildest imaginations. It not only breaks my heart, but this one moment was only the start of countless tears with the potentiality of 16 and a half years. And to think it all could have been stopped if I could have had but only the logic to have thought. Hindsight, you see, is more than 20/20. It's all seeing, ever peering, piercing into the world of my innermost being. Looking back serves just as a warning, just as much as the wisdom I'm stupidly avoiding. Because that's the thing about stupidity. It's stupid. Left in the aftermath with the reality of what you did. I never had felt so much on my own, ever so abased and alone as those moments that I've spent in this box. And all because I forgot to prioritize thoughts. The absence of thoughts has wrought insurmountable pain. That is what I got. I hurt my family, my scene, because I chose one night to be thoughtlessly obscene. Reject righteousness, accept thoughtlessness. Forget holiness, sanctification, and the call of the highest, because when you refuse to think and reason, we allow ourselves to indulge into spiritual treason. We were created to think and reason. My life had collapsed, though, due to a thoughtless season. All because of carnality's ignorance decisions. So corrosion began to set in, all because I disregarded reason and I chose sin. So I stand now against mindless prejudice, racism, sexism, bigotry. I stand against. Because something has got to give. Something has to change the way that we live. Because we as a people are nearly done prioritizing pleasure and fun while morality is overrun. What can I say? I can't be the first or the only one who is tired of social injustices, sheep feeding, innocents bleeding, while we give the 1%ers and the majority are heeding. While I stand here speaking against rape culture, against those who chose to be spiritually immature and the control of them, those that work for the system, because racism isn't dead, yet no one speaks up. They'd rather stay quiet and drink from ignorance's cup. Abortion, divorce, sex addiction is all on the rise just because we have a generation who refuses to open up their eyes. So how about you? Will you reach out to a society who's on the brink? Do you have the courage to not just speak, but to think? We have men that hate someone for their skin, who are more apt to yield to ignorance and let love wear thin. But there is a problem with those who hate, who let bigoted idolatry control their fate. Love dies when we fail to appreciate the qualities that separate you from me to the very degree that perforates the values that can make us as a people great. Go ahead, mindless hate the homeless and the gay, kill the black kid in the streets and let the skies turn gray. Revolution has always been the great fear, but we need someone to come here, drive out the fear and dig deeper than how things appear. Because this doesn't work. It's broken. No more affirmation of action so white communities can have a token. We all bleed the same blood and die the same breath and death. Let's disregard this madness and give ignorance a rest.